Well, hello, and welcome to the Tea with Tea. Today, I'm going to be talking about mental illness. I think majority of the population, at some point in their life, has struggled with mental illness to some degree. Whether it be anxiety, depression, bipolar, borderline personality, schizophrenia, or anything on the autism spectrum, honestly, it's all mental illness. And why I want to talk about it is because I don't necessarily believe it's a bad thing. Actually, I don't believe it's a bad thing. It's showing you there are places in your life where you can improve with certain ones, such as anxiety and depression. I feel like a lot of people who haven't awakened but have that awareness within them, I feel like they end up having anxiety and depression. And I experienced that. Because you realize that the world is honestly kind of shit and that everything is run by bad people, to say the least. You realize that you're on like this never-ending hamster wheel of just trying to be successful, trying to survive. Honestly, you're just trying to survive, and it feels like this endless hamster wheel. So as someone who has that awareness within them, and you see how the world is, of course you're gonna have anxiety and depression. You're gonna be afraid to do and say certain things because people in the Matrix, all they do is judge you and tell you that your decisions are wrong. Like, that's their programming, is to seriously just be negative towards everyone and everything, because the negativity, the fear is what keeps us in the Matrix. And if you've seen my previous videos, you know what I mean by when I say in the Matrix. The Matrix is this reality we live in. It sucks, honestly. The way that it's run, the people who run it, the way life is supposed to work according to the Matrix, it's all shitty, honestly. And people who have anxiety and depression are typically the ones who know that deep down. Whether they acknowledge it or not, they know that deep down. That this is not right. That what they tell us we are and how they teach us to live, how they program us, is bullshit. Even down to religion, despite whether or not you grow up in a religious household, religion is pushed onto everyone. Maybe not in a super aggressive way, but it's definitely pushed. I mean, you see, depending on where you live in the country, you see churches on every corner. And, a lot of holidays center around religion or Christianity specifically, or Catholicism, but it's all just to keep you separate from what we truly are, from what you truly are. We're all connected. Everything is one. I've said this in previous videos. We are literally all from the same energy. Whether you call it God, source, the quantum field, however you want to address it, we are all talking about the same thing. And it is an energy source where we all come from. We are all connected to it. And the reason why religion is the way that it is to separate you from source, to make you think that source is something separate from you. So you're constantly seeking something outside of you in order to feel fulfilled. And so it's this endless chase. And then you think that once you pass away, you're going to go to heaven because you were a good person. And then, in my opinion, you're probably just going to be reincarnated because your soul is still going to be craving these earthly things, these loose ends. It's going to be craving to satisfy those loose ends instead of reaching this enlightenment or awakening, knowing that once your physical body passes away, your soul still exists out in the quantum field. And, there's this theory that this is pretty much just like an energy farm. Like, I think that reincarnation is actually a trap. And I think that depending on your mindset, your mental state at the time of your death, then yes, you get reincarnated on this earth in order for them to be able to siphon your energy and harvest your energy again. So you live another life on this planet or in this reality in order for them to just continue to control you and pretty much own your soul. Like, if you don't reach that awakening, that nirvana, that enlightenment, whatever you want to call it, then you will be recycled back into this reality. But if you wake up and realize that this body, this physical world is not all that I am, then who knows what happens? Maybe you can choose to come back here. Maybe you can choose to visit other realities. I mean, who really knows? That's a whole discussion for another day. But I do believe that people who have mental illness have more of a connection with source. more of an ability to actually awaken. They're not just like NPCs, so to speak, or non-player characters, as if this were a video game. Because I believe that this reality is filled with NPCs, and that's what helps keep us at such a low vibration, at such a low frequency. That's what keeps us from connecting with source, is because we have all these NPCs running the program, keeping us at a low vibration, judging us, telling us that our ideas are bad, keeping us at a level where we think we can't do better, we can't do more, we're stuck in this like poverty stricken life, and it's just overall sucks and it's never going to get better. They want you to stay in that mindset, because when you're fearful, you're easier to control. But when you have mental illness, if you don't see it as something that is wrong with you, which is what they want you to think, which is why they give you medication, which is really just a band-aid in order to fix you. But if it fixed you, you wouldn't need it for the rest of your life. In actuality, you just need to realize who you are and the power that you hold. I suffered from anxiety and depression for many years. I was diagnosed with borderline personality disorder, and that's actually like the first time that I'm sharing that with you all. But yeah, I was diagnosed with BPD, and I believe it was a misdiagnosis. I believe it was completely environmental. I was in an environment that did not feed my true self. It suppressed me. It kept me small. I was with someone who I was always walking on eggshells. I always had to worry about what I said, how I said it, and make sure that that person was going to take it the right way. I was just constantly worried about them and how they were going to perceive things, and I couldn't focus on myself and my growth. Even though that person encouraged me to do so, that person did not realize how they were truly affecting me and how they themselves needed to do work on themselves to reach who they truly were, or truly are, or could be. Because some people will show you these little breadcrumbs of awakening or awareness, and you're like, oh, they can get on my level. Like, as if I guide them, if I work on myself enough, then they will follow suit. And that's just not true. You will kill yourself trying to help someone else awaken. And it ended up ruining the whole relationship. Couldn't even be friends afterwards, because I believed that this person could awaken with me, and they couldn't. They believed that I was severely mentally ill. They encouraged me to be on this plethora of medication. I was on like 8 or 9 different medications. I had medication for my medication, and that person encouraged this, thinking that that was going to help, that was going to make me better, when in fact I did not need to change. I did not need to be better. I needed to awaken. I needed to broaden my awareness to realize that all these things that I'm experiencing are not only environmental because I was in a toxic relationship, but also because I was aware of the world and my connection to source, but I wasn't allowing myself to connect. I wholeheartedly believe that those medications also further blocked me from connecting with source, from connecting with my true self. Because if we are all source, because that we are all created from source, we are all a part of source, then therefore we are source, or God, if you want to call it God, or the quantum field, whatever you want to call it. We are that, because that is what we are created from. So we are that. And being on all that medication absolutely blocked me from being able to reach my true potential. And I'm still on my journey. It's a never-ending journey. Until the day I die, I'm going to be on this journey of becoming the best version of myself, because that version of me will always change. But once I left that toxic situation, I weaned myself off all my medication. And actually, when I quit my job last year, I lost my insurance, of course. So I stopped all medication. I was only on one medication, and that was for ADHD, actually. I was diagnosed with chronic anxiety, depression, and PTSD, as well as borderline personality disorder and ADHD. So I was diagnosed with all these mental illnesses and was medicated for them. And I also went to therapy. I saw a psychiatrist once every 3 months at the very least. I saw a therapist once a week. At one point, I had to move to every 2 weeks just because of money. And then after I started weaning myself off my medication, I actually only saw my psychiatrist once a month. And she even, because my goal was to not have to take medication at some point, was to be able to find ways to cope with my anxiety, depression, ADHD, everything, in order to wean myself off my medication so I wouldn't have to take it anymore. So I had gotten a new psychiatrist. After I had left that situation and started weaning myself off my medication, I got a new psychiatrist. And she also believes that I was misdiagnosed with borderline personality disorder because it was purely environmental. I was in an environment where I was unable to stabilize my mood because of someone else's. And as soon as I removed myself from that situation, I no longer had these mood swings, these extreme highs and lows, the inability to regulate my emotions just disappeared almost. Because when you are in a toxic environment, you become a version of you that is not who you really are. And I even tried to explain that to that person, that was why I was leaving, because I became a person that is not truly me. And that version of me is who they fell in love with, and that is not me. And I don't want to be that person. So I had to remove myself for my own sake. Honestly, I believe if I had stayed in that situation, I wouldn't be here today. Because I was suffering mentally on a level I couldn't even explain to you. I was numbing myself with medication. I was finding little distractions, and none of it was all band-aids. None of it was actually helping me. So once I left and started doing all this inner work, and when I tell you the amount of inner work that I've done is immense and has been overwhelming, but it has allowed me to truly be who I am and see the world for what it is and understand the universe and myself and my own power. Just like everybody has this power of source within them. And I finally was able to understand that once I wasn't on all the medication, once I wasn't in that environment. And even after that, the environment that I was in became, I wouldn't go as far as to call it toxic, but it was just not suitable anymore. And so I had to remove myself from that environment. And now I'm in a new environment, which has been suiting me great. And, you know, of course, there's never going to be anything perfect in life. So you can't just expect, oh, I'm going to move from this bad environment, and because I remove myself from it, the next environment's going to be perfect. Like, no, there are always going to be things that can be adjusted or what have you. But I'm getting so much closer to where I want to be with every step that I take. And it all started because I started to believe that my mental illness was not an illness. That these things that I was experiencing were much deeper than just some issue on the inside that needed a band-aid to cover it up. I started to really understand that my anxiety was actually my body telling me that something was wrong. Just like depression, ADHD, all of it. All these things I was experiencing was just my body's way or my brain's way of telling me that there was something off. And I learned to become in tune with it. So with my anxiety, if I'm feeling anxious, which isn't really anxiety for me anymore, it's more of my body telling me something's wrong. I'm supposed to be somewhere else or be doing something else. There's something off and I need to figure that out. And then as soon as I figure it out, that feeling's gone because everything's back in sync. Whereas before, my anxiety would last for hours, sometimes days. Just this chronic anxious tightness in my chest, my heart racing, like would last for days sometimes. Because in actuality, it's really just your intuition trying to tell you that you should be going a different way or something needs to be different. Something needs to be adjusted. Same with depression. You feel this overwhelming sadness. You've experienced something bad and you're stuck in that emotion. And a part of awakening is realizing that you are not your emotions. You are the observer of your emotions. So when you choose to observe them, acknowledge them, and then release them, you no longer experience these intense bouts of depression. You allow yourself to experience the sadness or whatever negative emotion it may be. You allow yourself to experience and ask yourself, why am I feeling this way? Oh, because XYZ situation just happened and it was bad. Okay, let's cope with that. You comfort yourself. You tell yourself it's okay. We're going to do this instead. We find solutions. We take action to make it better. Or if you need to, you just let yourself sit in that, but do not stay in that emotion. Let yourself sit in that for a short time. Allow yourself to feel it so you can release it. And sometimes those feelings may come back because we struggle with memory flashes where, you remember the situation and then you get sad, but just do the same process. Observe it, acknowledge it, address it, and release it, period. And it's not an easy thing to start doing when you've been programmed to be your emotions. From childhood, we're taught that we are our emotions, but we're not. We are the observer of our emotions. We're the observer of life in general. This meat suit that we have, that's not us. That is our character, our avatar, however you want to call it. It's not who we are. Our thoughts are not ours. Because think about it. You can't predict your next thought. So if you can't predict your next thought, then your thoughts are not yours. So you can have all kinds of thoughts, but you choose whether or not you want to keep those thoughts. You get to choose. Does this thought serve me or does it hurt me? And the more you learn to decipher your thoughts and choose which ones you want to actually continue on with, then you start to make different decisions and you start to have less bad thoughts. Like, let's say one of the biggest negative thoughts you have is life sucks. If you have that thought, and you hold on to that thought and you continuously think that thought, then that's what you're going to experience. But if you observe it and say, okay, why do I have this thought that life sucks? Oh, well, I've been through this. I was hurt by this person. My parents didn't love me. Whatever it may be. You list them all. List them all, because all these things that come to mind when you think of why I have this thought, those need to be addressed. And you have to heal from them. So whatever trauma you've been through, all of that, you have to heal from it. And the easiest way to do that is to talk yourself through it, to list out what you've been through, what holds that negativity within you. And then say, for each situation, why it makes you feel negative. And if you need to, if other people were involved, write letters to those people. Just so you can release that emotion. Write letters and say, hey, this experience made me feel this way, and just go into detail about everything. And you may want to cry, you may want to scream, you may want to get angry, and that's fine. Let yourself feel all those emotions, but do not hold on to them. Finish the letter, and if you actually physically write it, rip it up, burn it, bury it, whatever you want to do, or, some people type it and then just delete it, or some people keep it. I personally keep mine. I write various ways. I write physically, I type, I audio journal, and I normally keep all of mine. I don't normally go back and read them. I just, for some reason, feel safer keeping them. I don't know. But that's just me. You can get rid of them, and a lot of times that release is very helpful. But sometimes I will get rid of things, and especially depending on how long it's been, like my old journals, sometimes I will go through and get rid of them, because holding on to those, especially with so much negativity in them, you're carrying that with you, whether you realize it or not. That negativity is being carried with you everywhere you go, as long as you keep them. So really just feel it out and see what's best for you. But once you figure that out and you release that trauma, you work through it, your mental illness will be exponentially better. Or you will learn how to cope with it. Or it's not even coping, it's just you learn that what you're feeling isn't who you are. You learn that this anxiety, even social anxiety, because sometimes I even still struggle with this, actually being out in public and interacting with people, but mine is more of on an energetic level, because I'm an empath. I absorb other people's energy, and I'm learning to be able to decipher what's mine and what's not, and not absorb what's not mine. Okay, I feel this negative energy. I'm in this random public place and I feel this negative energy. And to learn to not absorb that and say, okay, I acknowledge that. That's cool. Somebody in here had a bad day or just carries negative energy. It is what it is, but that's not mine to carry. And that's something that I'm working on now. Like I said, it's an endless journey. It's an endless process of just becoming better and bettering yourself, becoming the version of you that you truly want to be. And the version of me I want to be is able to go out in any public place with any kind of energy and still maintain my own energy, my positive vibration, my positive frequency. I'm able to maintain that even if every single other person in the room is negative. That's my goal, and that's what I'm working on. That's my biggest thing right now, is especially going to the grocery store. I think because there can be so many people in the grocery store at once, it is very difficult for me to be able to not even necessarily ignore, but just realize that none of that energy is mine and I don't have to carry it. I can be in this store with hundreds of people who all have negative energy and still maintain my positive energy. That's my goal. And I think, everybody should have that goal, but a lot of people don't realize that this is what they're experiencing. That a lot of their anxiety is coming from feeling other people's energy and feeling feeling overwhelmed by that, not knowing how to handle it or what to do. And it just becomes anxiety. That's what we call it, because we don't know how to control it. We don't even know what it really is. Doctors just say you experience anxiety because you've had trauma and we just have to medicate you and it'll help. In actuality, medication just is a band-aid. It doesn't actually fix or help the problem. It just covers it up, makes you numb. And I feel like doctors don't actually address the true problem. They acknowledge it, that, oh, you have this anxiety because you have past trauma. Let's put you on medication, instead of actually helping you work through it. And if you get a therapist and everything, they may help you work through it, but you also have to be super intentional with them about it, because therapists are just there to talk to you about whatever it is you want to talk about. So you have to be intentional by saying, look, I'm experiencing this issue. I need to work through it so I can heal. And then they'll do that. But I've even experienced where I was in a therapy session talking about the most random things in life that wasn't actually helping me heal or aiding my progression in life or anything, because I wasn't being intentional with my therapy. So it's all very intentional. You have to be intentional with everything in life. And as far as autism, which the spectrum is so large nowadays that we're pretty much all on the autism spectrum, I believe that those people are way more connected to source than probably any of us, but they just don't know it. And doctors are slapping autism on it because they don't even realize what it truly is. That at such a young age, you're unable to conform to the life around you because you deep inside know that this is not right. That as a child, you should not be asked to sit down for 8 hours a day and do work. Like, none of it makes sense. They're literally training you to just be compliant. That's all it is. That's all school is. Like, some of it is good. Some of it teaches us helpful things that we can use throughout life. But most of it is just teaching you to sit down, shut up, and be compliant. That's all it is. And as a child, you don't realize that you disagree with that. You just act out because your feelings in your body are like, something is wrong here. We should not be sitting here for 8 hours having to be confined to this space. And I know they have breaks and lunch and whatnot, but generally you're sitting there for 8 hours doing work, listening to someone talk. We are not created to live a life like that. And when you have mental illness, autism specifically, I feel like you are way more in tune with that. Like, my nephew is autistic, or he's been diagnosed autistic, and I honestly believe that he is just insanely connected with source, and he just doesn't have the mental capacity within this 3D reality to realize that. And even the conversations I've had with him, he's only 8 years old. He's profound. He is so smart, so intelligent, like clever as hell. Like, I mean, I can't even explain to you, but he's autistic. Why? Because he won't sit down and conform to what you need him to do or want him to do, because he doesn't feel comfortable being around all these negative people. Like, he is such a good kid, and then as soon as he's around negative energy, he starts to act out. That is a big thing that makes my opinion what it is on autism, because not just him, but other people that I've interacted with who are autistic, they're fine. They are completely fine, or normal, as society would say, until they're around negative energy or any energy that's off-putting, just strange, energy that they don't know how to process, because they know that's not how life should be. That's not how people should be. But it hasn't clicked for them yet. They haven't awakened, or they're too young for their brain to actually understand. Their soul understands, but their brain doesn't. There's a difference. And the brain is part of the 3D reality. Your soul is part of source. Your soul comes from the quantum field, or source, or God, however you want to address it. And the reason why they want to medicate us is because they don't want us to get to the truth. They don't want us to understand the power that we hold. So they're like, no, you have an issue because you're not like the NPCs. We're going to medicate you so you can be like the NPCs. But it's all just a trap. Honestly, if you experience mental illness, whether you're medicated or not, I wholeheartedly encourage you to continue on a spiritual journey, or start your spiritual journey, to question everything, to question the people that run this world, the way that it's run, question religion, question me, question your friends, your family, question everything, and do your research until you come to a conclusion that makes sense to you, to where you can become the best version of you because you finally understand life and how it works, the universe and how it works. Just go down that path. And yes, at first, it will most likely cause you more anxiety, maybe more depression. It may honestly make it more difficult for you to focus. So it may affect if you have ADHD. Like for me, that was my medication that I was on the longest, was for my ADHD, because my brain was so all over the place trying to figure out what it is that I truly believe, trying to interpret everything that I was seeing every day, all day, everywhere. And so I couldn't focus on work, my job. I couldn't just completely focus on it and do it because my mind was thinking about all these other things. So I stayed on that medication to help me focus at work so I could better perform at work. When in actuality, it's just because they want you to perform and that's all they care about. They don't care about your mental health. They don't care, even though they might say that they do, they don't care about your mental health. They don't care about your health in general. They just want you to perform. I don't care what job it is. I'm sure there's a handful that are the exception. But in general, jobs just want you to perform, want you to produce. That's it. They don't care what you have to do it because you're replaceable. So if you don't do the job well, if you don't show up, whatever it may be, they'll replace you and they don't care. So I was still conforming to that. I need to perform. I need to do well because I'm the type of person that I don't care what job I'm doing it to the best of my ability. So because I couldn't focus, I chose to stay on that medication, but I haven't taken that medication in 6 months now. And I've been able to focus just fine because I'm focusing on things that aid my growth, not feeding someone else's pockets. And that's another thing. Once you realize what life really is, how life really works, what you really are, the power that you really hold, and decide to go down your life path, your true life path, to follow what gives you the most happiness, you don't have those same issues anymore. Even though life can still suck, like I still experience things that suck every day. Like even, because I deliver Amazon, because obviously I have to earn money somehow, and it kind of sucked this morning, but it's over now. I'm already done with it. So why continue to be upset about it? Or even in the moment when I was experiencing the things that made my shift not so great, I would literally speak it out loud and be like, oh, this specific thing is aggravating me or frustrating me. And I would say out loud why. And I'd be like, okay, it's over, done. And that's it. And it's taken me so long to be able to get to the point of being able to do that. But you just keep at it. You just be consistent and you change. You create new neural pathways. So you handle situations differently and are able to, like, let's say if you have anxiety, where difficult situations would typically make your anxiety heighten for hours, let's say. By doing this process of observing, seeing that this situation sucks, acknowledging that, addressing why you feel that way about it, and then releasing it, you go from, let's say, 4 or 5 hours of anxiety to 10, 15 minutes. And even less than that. Like now, mine will last maybe 5 minutes. Maybe. Like today, that specific situation that I'm referencing, it was like, I spoke for maybe 1.5 minutes. And so let's just say 2 minutes. My anxiety was a little more heightened because I was like, oh my gosh, that was so frustrating. And then I was like, okay, but it's over. It's already finished. I'm done. All right, let's move along. I don't even know how long I've been talking, but I feel very passionately about this because I've experienced this myself, where I was diagnosed with all these mental illnesses and was put on all this medication. Now I take no medication and I'm happier than I've ever been, because this all has to go back to spirituality, to awakening, to awareness. So question everything. Question everything. Follow your intuition. Learn how to interpret your intuition and follow your intuition. And I promise you, all these mental illnesses will not have the same effect on you anymore. You have to find what you truly believe. Because I can tell you this, and then you could go question some things, do a little bit of research, and not find anything that resonates with you, and then still experience the same mental illnesses to the same degree. You have to make sure that you are dedicated to figuring out what it is you truly believe. And then once you do, everything starts to change. And if you want to truly believe that life just sucks, or that God is outside of you and you have to pray to him and worship him and live your life by the Bible and how the Bible says, then that's what you're going to experience. That is how your life is going to play out, because that is what you believe. But if you believe differently, then that's how your life will be. Whatever your belief is, whatever you perceive life to be, that is what you're going to experience. So choose differently. Choose to believe that you are not your emotions, that you don't have have to feel this anxiety all the time, and be patient with yourself on the journey of actually figuring that out and rewiring your brain to not absorb these emotions or become these emotions, and instead observe them, acknowledge them, address them, and release them. Okay? And if you guys have any questions or, just want to talk about anything regarding mental illness or anything, or consciousness, the universe, whatever, seriously, whatever platform, find a way to message me. If you're watching this on YouTube or Spotify, all my usernames are the same across all platforms, at the T with _T. So find me, message me. I'm here, and I've been through all of this. That's why I'm able to speak on it. So if you are just curious or have questions or just need somebody to talk to, I'm here. Hit me up. I want to help. That's why I do this. That's why I make these videos. That's why I make content in general, because I want to help. I want to help people who maybe were like me, suffering from chronic mental illness, become someone like me now, who doesn't suffer anymore, who still struggles just like everybody does, but is on this path to becoming who they're truly meant to be, creating the life that they truly deserve, and releasing all that negativity. So I'm here. All right, I guess that's it for today, because I could talk about this for hours. I could talk about a lot of these things for hours. A lot of the topics that I've talked about and a lot of the topics I will cover in the future, I could talk about for hours, but I'll go ahead and end it here. So I love you, love yourself, and let's grow together.